Okay, so now you are ready to produce a final map of your Deer Lake project. And what I'd like to do at this point is give you a few tips on symbology, and how to create inset maps or a number of different maps to best represent complex sets of attributes. So first I'm going to talk about symbology. So right now I've got all these different attributes, and we've played around with symbology in class already. But what I wanted to point out is when you here are the sort of like default S3 symbology, right? But other options are that you can go under this style references, and there's other sets of symbology that you could add to help choose more effective ways to map your attributes. So incidentally, the force tree one is a really nice collection, so I'm going to add that one. And then when you scroll down, you can see all these kind of, I like to think of them as, I don't know, like classical map symbology that you might find would be effective to, say, show viewing areas, or maybe show something like, oh, danger, so areas on your map that you think you identified as dangerous areas, or dog areas, etc. So these are nice sort of classical symbols, but there are others that you can add in here as well. So I encourage you to play around with that. Now once you add all your symbols, the issue that you might encounter is that for some of your maps, in particular if you have, you're going to include all these attributes on your map, when you start to zoom in, you get these areas where you just have like tons of overlapping points. So imagine you added a whole bunch of different symbols here, they would just get all squishy and it just doesn't look very nice. So a couple of solutions I'm going to suggest. If you go to Layout View, and I'll zoom in a bit, under Layout View, ooh, that's not what I want to do, zoom in this way. I always forget which zoom to use. I showed this to some people in class, but essentially what you can do is you can create a number of different maps with the same attributes. Here's what I mean. So if we resize this one, for instance, and we move it up here, say this is your main map. Now this all falls under this layers, let's see, what is it called? Data frame. That's what I want to say. But what you can do is you can add other data frames, and that's exactly what this layers business is. We call it your main map. And then once you've added that one, see, notice I added a new data frame, and I'm going to call that inset. I don't know, give it whatever name you want. But essentially what it is now on this layout page you have two different maps, and you could slide over some of the features or all of the features you were working with. So maybe hit Shift and then select all of these, and you could add them here. So now you have sort of two different perspectives. You can use two different scales. You could perhaps zoom in on one area in particular that you want to focus on. So if we use this zoom here, oh, wrong one. The tricky part is that you really, oh, it isn't what I want to do. Let's see. You select this, and then you're going to zoom in. This should work now. There we go. So say you want to target this area where you have lots of different attributes. And maybe you'd want to draw some lines or something, or arrow to point that that's the area that they're zooming into. And include the scale bar for each one of these maps. Another approach that you might want to use is to have multiple sort of thematic maps on one page. So if you could insert another data frame, and let's say we wanted this data frame to be things related to, maybe this one you're going to call it, instead of inset, you're going to call this one, I forget some of the categories, let's say trail, or I'm trying to think, like operational, like say you have all your ditches and stuff. Operational, we'll just call it operational. And maybe this one's going to be danger trees. So if you found a lot of danger trees, so now what you would do is you could have multiple maps of the same thing showing different attributes, and that could be another way of overcoming issues with complex maps with lots of different attributes. So just for a bit of insights into what I was trying to get at here, I'm going to give you a couple of examples off the web. So here is Capilano River Regional Park, and here's exactly an example of an inset map. So they've got this sort of zoomed in version of their park here, and then they've got this different scaled perspective with a square around it, which indicates that that area is actually this area, so you can get the context of where this is located. What's important to acknowledge here is that you may have multiple different scale bars, and you may also have multiple legends, given that you're talking about two different maps. Another example would be Stanley Park. So this is a bit fancier because they're including photos, and you took a lot of photos in the field. But when you're targeting an audience like seniors, hikers, or trail runners, which is what you're doing, you may want to think about what is it that they're interested in. So in this map here, they've got these sort of zoomed in areas where, see, they've got the little box around it with a number pointing to what area they're referring to. That helps people navigate through these sort of really dense sets of attributes. So I hope that gives you some ideas on how to approach your Deer Lake mapping project.